So recently, a brand new game called Genshin Impact launched, and I was initially pretty excited for this game. It's a free-to-play open-world game, which is a huge draw-in for someone like me. I'm always for new free-to-play games, especially open-world ones. We don't see a lot of open-world free-to-play games, and the graphical style of it is pretty cool. I am someone who is instantly drawn to this type of art style. But then I started looking deeper into the game, some of the history behind the game, and the company who is creating and publishing the game, and I became skeptical very quickly. Now, first of all, like I said, it is a free-to-play open-world game, which is good, but it is a gacha game, so that was instantly a huge turnoff for me, because gacha games are games with highly random elements to them. It's a way that companies get players to spend a lot of money very quickly, which makes them extremely addicting. Now, second of all, the game is developed and published by MiHoYo, a Chinese company that's been accused of things like their games being spyware in the past, and even though this game did face those accusations, I still wasn't extremely turned off by this. I thought maybe at some point down the road I would download it, I would maybe try it out, maybe even stream it once or twice, but I did decide to hold back on it for a little while until the game was out. But the problems are continuing to line up for this game, because now we're mixing censorship into the controversies surrounding this game. So I am going to be referencing a PCGamer.com article. So Genshin Impact's chat filter removes words like Taiwan and Hong Kong, but also Putin, Hitler, and words. So Genshin Impact is a free-to-play RPG from Chinese developer MiHoYo that a lot of people seem to love. I'm glad that there are people out there who are loving it. Just because a game comes from a Chinese developer doesn't instantly mean that we should boycott it and that we shouldn't support it, but unfortunately a lot of the time when games are coming from Chinese developers, they do end up censored in some way or another. It's just the unfortunate way that it is, and I am later on in the video going to read a little bit more into China's history with censoring video games. Anyway, continuing on with the article, a week after its release, players are discovering some of its subtleties, such as the nature of its microtransactions, and more recently, what you are and aren't allowed to type in its in-game chat. First noticed on Twitter and Reddit and corroborated by us, certain words can't be used in Genshin Impact's chat. Taiwan and Hong Kong are censored, as is Putin, Hitler, Stalin, and Falun Gong. These words, the word words is also banned for some reason, suggesting that the chat filter uses a big list with a mistake or two in it. Yes, I mean, whenever you're going to be censoring words from a chat, there are words that are going to end up mistakenly in there, but obviously words like Taiwan, Hong Kong, Putin, Hitler, Stalin, those are all pretty normal words to be censored by Chinese developers. As analyst Daniel Ahmed points out on Twitter, it's pretty unsurprising that discussions about Taiwan and Hong Kong would be discouraged with a chat filter, this being a Chinese game and all. Linking to a $4,000 report from Nico Partners designed to aid game publishers towards launches in China, Ahmed points out that Chinese-developed games have to comply with a ton of content and in-game censorship rules. I do talk about censorship very regularly here on the channel, and I always am covering Chinese-based censorship, whether it's Chinese censorship in the entertainment industry or the gaming industry. It constantly is happening, not only by Chinese developers, but also companies that want to keep their games in the Chinese market. I did want to bring up his tweet thread, though, because he does make a couple of good points, and he does also bring up another article that I wanted to reference. So he says, people have asked me why this is, in response to a tweet that someone said due to Genshin Impact censoring the words Taiwan and Hong Kong in the in-game chat, I will no longer be posting about the game. He said, 1. MiHoYo is a mainland China-based developer. 2. China's laws and game regulators state that games cannot contain anything that threatens China's national unity. And 3. All Chinese games censors phrases such as Taiwan/Hong Kong due to this. Chinese developed games have to comply with a ton of content and in-game censorship rules because of these laws and regulations. There is a list of banned words that cannot be used in-game / via chat functions. Foreign developers also need to comply when publishing games in China. Now, I do end up talking about a lot of Chinese censorship in the gaming industry because even developers like Activision Blizzard will censor their products so they can end up in the Chinese region. Now, yes, there can be two different versions of the games, but half of the time, companies are way too lazy to put extra money into it, so we all end up getting one version that ends up with a ton of content that's censored. I also wanted to go to a VentureBeat article that Daniel had shared, and I think is kind of important, at least one section of it that I really wanted to read. So politics, censorship, territory disputes in gaming, these aren't usually found in the same arenas. Gaming has become a $130 billion market with political implications, and Chinese censorship is leading the way. PUBG is massively successful, and it's a top seller on the App Store. It's from South Korean video game company Bluehole. If you were to play PUBG on mobile today, you'd find that Taiwan is censored in all of its text chats. That word, when sent into chat, is displayed in all asterisks, and this will happen no matter what country you are playing from. Now, how did this come to be? There is one specific section here that I want to read that I feel is important. China has a stronghold on censorship and approval for games, which is governed by the State Administration of Radio and Television, or the SART. This body has recently begun restructuring, halting the issuances of games licenses to deploy a stricter policy on publication of games within the country. This has impacted the games market in China significantly for companies like Tencent Holdings, the largest mobile game provider in the world, which owns a 1.5% stake in Bluehole and has the licensing rights to publish PUBG in China. Tencent is a huge company that I try to talk about a lot, but a lot of people don't realize how massive this company is. The largest mobile game provider in the world. Now, unfortunately, I know a lot of people are going to say, I don't really see the problem with a few words being censored in one video game. It's not that big of a deal, but this is happening more and more in games all of the time, and I do truly think that people need to be aware of what's going on. And situations like this, yes, are small, but they lead to companies feeling like it's okay to censor whatever they want because people are going to play their games anyway, and people are going to buy their microtransactions anyway, and we want less censorship in the gaming industry, not more. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Have you been playing Genshin Impact? Did you decide to wait? I'm curious to know your thoughts on the game if you have played it. But if you enjoyed this video and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like and share it and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.